everybody, welcome back to my channel. I'm Akila, and today we are doing yet another compilation of reactions, or a reaction of a compilation of videos, I guess that's how I should put it. I know I've been doing a lot lately, but there's been a heckin' lot of news in the gaming world lately, Black. And what kind of a Sonic finger would it be if I didn't react to Sonic stuff? Sonic Frontiers. We got our first footage, which I uploaded the other day, and I'm super stoked about. And this time, we got brand new footage, which, from what I hear, it's from a newer build. The first footage was from, I think, the first build. Correct me if I'm wrong. But it's from a newer build, so they should have built upon the footage we just saw. So let's get on with it. If you're all as excited as me, make sure to leave a like on the video below. It would help out so much. Now, let's get on to it, shall we? Oh, I'm so excited. Oh my gosh, more.
Hello to the future. As we mentioned Saturday night, which it is right now as we're shooting this, there are things that we could not talk about in our broadcast, but we can talk about whenever you're watching.
I love his shirt.
The most exciting things, I would say.
Yeah, exactly.
Twilight Princess is my favorite Zelda.
One of the biggest things at the show, good or bad, however your take may be, Sonic Frontiers.
Blood, based on what I had seen of Sonic Frontiers before this, I went in with
so
very low
cool.
expectations.
It's so much better.
Visually, I still think it's pretty bland, but I think that this is a game that will click more with you once you get your hands on it, and I don't think just sitting and watching it really
need my
conveys
blanket.
how it
It's
feels,
cold in here.
as a player, and I was genuinely into it. And what I mean by that is Sonic in a more open structure is actually pretty enticing. And I think the way they've laid out these zones is really satisfying to explore because it feels like they kind of take full advantage of the space that you're in. And so what I mean by that is there are different collectibles, and I didn't like, there's one where you
collectibles
and you're trying to restore Amy's memories.
Yeah.
And I don't know what that
means.
Amy! This, like,
yeah!
weird vibe.
We know now!
Like, Sonic is just laying,
almost everyone predicted it was Amy.
It was like passed out in the grass.
I mean, we've all been there.
What's happening, Sonic? And they say something about being separated from Amy and Tails. And yeah, and so like you're saying, once there's a lot.
We did skip the opening cinematic.
Yeah,
so
they didn't show us that. One thing that did bug me, and hopefully it's not as bad in the final game, is that there was just like, it felt like you were getting constantly interrupted by like tutorial pop-up kind of things.
Yes, that was definitely happening.
Yeah,
that's
and
so
one
much
of the,
every
those things
game,
saying,
though.
like, yeah, these little heart things are you know, for Amy.
I definitely forgive the tutorialization because I think it is very different from a traditional 2D or 3D Sonic experience. You know, and I assume that entirely goes away.
Hey, that's the thing that looks like one of the things from Sonic Heroes on the
screens interrupting
last
you and
level.
telling you information. Actually getting into it was fun and
spicy.
satisfying in kind of those like short burst moment ways, and I hate to use this example because it's so overused, but I think it does illustrate the point. Very Breath of the Wild, right? So I would think, like, in Breath of the Wild, you just have those moments where you sort of stumble upon something, maybe it'd be like a moblin camp, you know, and you just deal with it. Sort of like these organic moments that you would kind of run into. Sonic Frontiers has that where, like, I would see a collectible in the distance, right? And it'd be like, okay, how do I get there? Oh, if I go to these boxes and I break the boxes, there's a spring, and then that'll lead me up here. Okay, I bounced up there, but I messed it up and I fell down. So it's like, okay, I need to go, I need to bounce, I need to boost, right? And so you're sort of piecing together really what are essentially micro platforming puzzles. right? And you can see on the map, right? It's like this thing is here, this thing is here, this thing is here, and so you can kind of go around the environment and just sort of figure things out. But what I mean by using all of the space available, right, is like there would be moments where I'd be like, oh, there's like something up, there's a rail in the sky.
Yeah.
Right. And so it's like, oh, I need to like pay attention. I need to be constantly looking above me, not just in front of me. And it's like, how do I get to that rail? Right. And then again, going back to that example of sort of piecing things together, how to get there.
Yeah.
So
and
on and so forth.
there were things where you had to do multiple times, just like figuring out the timing. It seemed a little tricky there.
Yeah, definitely. And it was kind of interesting because there was one
I love its long hair.
part collectible that I went after where the first time I did it, I almost got it, but then I found out in the next, like one of the next attempts, that was not the intended way. And so that was kind of a cool moment where it's like, oh, like you're supposed to do this, but I almost got up over here using this other method, right? And so, you think about
It's kind of like Zelda,
Sonic,
where
right? And
you
it's very
find
much
hawks.
of like you're kind of locked and
That's
going
true.
forward, I think, in a lot of examples. And so here it was nice to kind of have that playfulness. And you have different tools at your disposal. So I mentioned the boost, but there will also be like these balloons that will pop, and you use the homing attack to
Balloons!
pop it and kind of elevate yourself from
Games
one
party.
point to another.
There's also a skill tree.
There's also a skill tree.
Which is interesting. The first
Yes.
one that was
Skill
unlocked,
tree.
showed in the earlier demo, which is called a
I love skill
Slode,
trees.
where you kind of have like a line that follows Sonic.
Yeah.
And anytime you complete a circle, you would just get rings,
Yeah.
which is interesting.
Yeah. So if you just do it like kind of on nothing.
Yeah, but then you can also circle around, kind of like some of those Kirby games. You can circle around different devices. The one example they showed before was like when you circle around the torches, you kind of extinguish the torches.
Yep.
There was this one enemy that you fought.
It's like
it
the
was
one
a hard
Kirby.
shelled kind of enemy,
Mm-hmm.
and
Tower.
when you circle it, then the shell kind of pops up in the air and
Like
gives you an
tower.
advantage to like pummel the enemy before it pops back down.
Yeah, and that was something that I think was actually conveyed pretty well in the demo. And again, it was a very tutorialized area, but
Yeah, it wasn't even very wide open, right? It was kind of like
it was
like
segmented.
a funnel until you got
Yeah.
to like a bigger space.
Yeah.
Which is about when our time ran out.
But you had like very basic enemies that I felt like you could just easily just mash the homing attack and get through them, right? Just normal mobs essentially.
Which was like woefully missing in the earlier like the videos we saw before. It was like, is there anything out here? Or,
Yeah,
you're just
things
running around. Yeah.
you deal with very easily. And then you have these like boss encounters.
This.
And they're more involved, where I feel like I was
Whoa.
locked in an arena
Mhm.
against this
Got
boss,
chills.
and it had it had like twin blade arms, and it had
Yeah.
different
They actually called it a ninja.
attacks. Yeah, and so that was a little bit more complicated, right? And then you have the armored enemy, where you had to use a totally different technique, where you're trying to trace around it. To get
Here,
it, so a
please.
shell pops up and
Yeah.
you can attack it. And
There's
so
another one that you fought that they called a tower, and it had like a spinning thing at the top, and it was like shooting out.
yeah. And so they're like, hey, use the dodge that you have. And what's interesting is you have to be locked on to dodge on the ground, but then if you jump, you can dodge even if you're not locked on, which is interesting. And again, kind of going to the open world aspect, I got hit by that thing that I was fighting, and then I was like, oh man, I need rings. And it's like, I can just run away from this thing, and there are rings up on this rock, and I
Yeah.
can go there. And so again, like that kind of openness was
Logic.
Yeah.
for the Sonic design, because if you think of like a classic 2D Sonic boss, right, you just have to frantically try to pick up the rings
Yeah.
that drop when you get hit, and you can do that here as well, which
Yeah,
bears mention.
what was interesting with that tower thing is because, it was like you were like knocking like the levels of it out from beneath it, so you like.
That reminds
out,
me
knocking
of
it
those
out. But then once
things
it got
that
so
steal
low
your
that the
shield in
spinning part
Zelda.
was basically on the ground.
It
Then
did.
it kind of changed into like a top, and so you had to approach it differently.
I honestly, the approach didn't feel that different, because like I was hitting its bottom, and then I had to hit the top, but I didn't feel like I really had to do that much that was different. But Yeah, I think all these fights on their own are pretty simple, but it was nice even in the short time that we had that it felt like there was a good variety in terms of the style of fights.
Yeah.
Which was cool. There are also these like little birds that are
The Cocos?
that are littered around that you can go and collect.
Yeah, they said
Kinda
you
like
take them to the elder, but
Koroks.
you did not find
Yeah,
the
we
elder
didn't.
yet.
Yeah, and I don't know what rewards you're given for doing so.
Hopefully not a piece of poop.
But yeah, so there are, classic Sonic things. There are spring pads. There's like the Sonic Adventure, like things that you grab on there and that are attached to a rope, and then you go up. There's rails, and then when you're on the rails, you just hit left or right to switch between them. But I think overall, the thing that I want to say is it very much had
This one, though.
that kind of Breath of the Wild experience. It's something that was really intoxicating.
I
about Breath of the
love
Wild,
nighttime
where I just
games.
had fun poking around this world and trying to figure things out and going at my own pace, and really trying to see how many things that I could uncover. Again, that playfulness was really fun, and I felt like I could have. It was one of those games where I was like, I just want to keep sitting here and getting all the things off the map, right? And I think any game that can put that in you is good. A concern that I have is you think about 3D Sonic, and that's very much present here. Sonic is a little squirrely, right? And so when you have a lot of room to move, and you can really take full advantage of that speed, no problems, right? And there are a lot of control things that you can do. There's wall running. There's like a counter that you can do. Like he has a pretty, or it seemed like decently expansive repertoire of things available to him. But when you get to the more precision platforming, where it's like, oh, I'm just jumping from this floating square to that floating square. It was definitely doable, right? Like you can do it. I didn't feel like the controls were so squirrely that I wasn't able to accomplish those things, but it definitely felt looser than I would have liked. But what was interesting at the beginning of the demo, you can choose a high-speed mode, which they recommend for people familiar with Sonic games, and then there is also an action mode, which I didn't do, which they recommend for people not familiar with Sonic games. And so I wonder.
What that's like.
Those differences are, I was not expecting to walk away from this demo being like, man, I'm really excited to play more of that, but that is
I'll probably
100%
explain that
how I feel.
more in the
It's
game.
interesting because like,
closer.
as you're saying, like, the difference of being hands-on, because I just let you play the whole time. I didn't grab it, and it's like it's still not quite grabbing me. But I also, at the same time, I feel like they did a kind of a disservice to this game the way that they rolled it out. And some of those criticisms are still there. Like there's still like, the environment still looks kind of weird, and
Totally.
the way things pop in is like, okay, that's strange, especially like elements like the rails and all of that, and like the just things that are like rough for seemingly no reason. Like when you would smash like a crate or another container, like the frame rate would be really low on like how it would break apart.
Yeah, I think that's totally true. There is this roughness there. Like I would try to go and interact with something, and the prompt wouldn't come up, and I'd have to like go away and then come back, and then it's like, okay, the prompt came up. So yeah, there's definitely.
Yeah, I saw one time like it flew off. Like you were like jumping off a rail, and you like, flew off the side instead of going where you're trying to go.
Sure. Yeah. Again, that kind of squirreliness. So definitely, I think there's plenty of criticism to levy at the demo that we played, but
seeing it actually populated with enemies, seeing it actually populated with collectibles,
right?
Like all of that stuff makes a big difference, because those things give the world more of a sense of
It sure looks better than
there's
the
more than
first
that
one.
too that like we can't even get into yet. There's more objective to this game than the earlier demos made it seem.
And I do think, like, I wonder how I would feel if I was watching you play, because I do think there really is something to getting your hands on it and actually being the one that is, attempting these little micro puzzles and having the freedom to go where you want to go. And so I'm hesitant to like sit here and fully endorse this and be like, yeah, this is going to be amazing. I don't know that because it was a super, super, super tiny section of this game, but I'm like way more on board with it than I was expecting to be, and that purely came from the hands-on time.
Cool.
Easy
Yeah.
OS.
Gonna be interesting to see
where
it goes from here.
Right.
I
right,
wonder
and
if we always play games on
how
easy
we
mode.
feel once we get significantly more time.
So thanks for checking it out, and we got more coming at you.
We got more coming at you. And stay tuned, because after all this, I'm going to be recording that Capcom showcase right there. I'm super excited. I didn't even know about it until I went on YouTube and saw it on my page, and I'm like, what? Okay, so on to video 2. It says how Sonic Frontiers brings Sonic into an open world. Developer interview. So I'm pretty excited for this one. So gotta go fast and click the thingy to
Well, hello. It's honor to meet you, especially after just playing through Sonic Frontiers, both myself as well as Dave behind the camera. I think like the big questions on everyone's mind is like, so what inspired this idea to take Sonic to such a large open world? Like traditionally Sonic is very like either 2D levels, or if it is 3D, it's a bit more linear in scope. So this feels like a pretty big departure for a Sonic game.
はい、そうですね。ソニックはご存知の通り、最初の
So yeah, as you did mention, there's in Sonic's history, we've had the 2D side-scrolling gameplay, we've had the 3D more linear format, where you have Sonic starting someplace and going to a goal, kind of on a track. This is going to be kind of the next iteration. This is like the future of Sonic. Is we wanted to make
so
something
much better
that really
later
embraced freedom and the freedom to kind of run around wherever you want. And that's what they did with this huge 3D environment, is taking that Sonic platform action into this new 3D environment, the iteration that went into it, the passion that went into it. This is the open zone format that they've created.
Sonic has a bit more moves in this game than he does in the past, and so I was wondering, like, early on, like, most of the enemies I encountered, I'm like, oh, I can use my homing attack and kind of take them out in one hit, very traditional Sonic. But does combat become a bit more central, more focused, like later on in the game? Does that like play a larger role in the environment in the game that you're going to be doing?
そうですね。オープン
So yeah, in this open zone format, we have a lot of platforming that people can enjoy, the 3D action platforming. We also have the battle as one of the elements that people can enjoy in the open zone format. And really, we wanted to make sure we're giving the player choice, so they can choose to, if they just want to do action platforming, if they run into an enemy that they don't want to fight, they can also just run away and they don't have to engage. But if you're into battle and you want to do battle, you can also engage that enemy, defeat that enemy, and then go find new enemies to do battle with. So it's really this encouraging people to choose what they want to do and giving them the freedom to go and do what they want to do. But if you do want to engage enemies in battle, we also found, we need a battle system to allow people to engage in the enemies and allow people to kind of figure out how they want to defeat the enemies and how they want to have a fun time with the battle system.
Awesome. And going off of this choice of whether or not you want to run a platform or fight, like there are like these roadblocks like in the world where it's like, oh, you need this amount of keys or gears to like get past this certain thing. Could someone theoretically
His afro
get
is
through the
awesome.
entire game like just doing the combat stuff if they wanted to, or just doing the platforming if they wanted to, or were you gonna have to get like a healthy mixture at some point?
そうですね。基本的には
So the game design is kind of built with the idea that most people are going to want to do both. They will want to do some platform actioning. They will want to do some battle. So it is constructed in
That
that
reminds
way,
me
but it is
so
also
much
flexible enough to allow
that
people, if they
thing
want to
on
just,
that
like, I don't
level
wanna
in
do a lot of
Sonic
battle,
Heroes.
they can
And
find different ways
on
of getting all the items that they need to get to continue on
colors
with the game
too.
without engaging in too much
In
battle.
the Planet
same with
Witch.
platform action.
Actually,
If they don't want to do too much platform action, there are other ways in the game to collect items that you need to get you to that next stage. in order to continue forward with the game.
Awesome.
Which
And
reminds me
just
of
to
playing
clear off
with-
everything with the combat, I did notice that there were ways to upgrade like Sonic's attack power and defense, things that haven't really existed in a Sonic game before. So how exactly does that work? Because in previous games, it's like, oh, Sonic gets hit, he loses his ratings, you have to collect it again. So what happens if you upgrade your defense in this game?
はい、今回のそのバトルが
So because battle is one of the 3 key pillars of the game, we want to make sure if you're having problems with battle, maybe you're getting hit and taking too much damage, or your damage when you're hitting the enemies, you're not damaging them enough. We want to allow people to kind of upgrade Sonic and change the like parameters of offense and defense and ways of engaging in the battle,
Ooh.
so it's more
Oh
suited
my
to your
God.
style of doing battle. That is part of
It's
making
a
sure the
straight
battle
up
system is
Sonic
fun, and
RPG.
it's something that people can enjoy
Sort of.
and experience at the level
No
of skill
side
set
quests
and
yet
techniques that they
to
have. But
that
we
I
also want to make it
noticed.
easier. Maybe if you're not good at battles in general, other ways of kind of improving Sonic and allowing you to maybe get somewhere that you couldn't get to do before, get the items that you need to get in order to progress. So it's not just you have to battle and here's the ways to battle.
The demo that Dave and I played, it gave a very good idea of like what the gameplay for this is going to be like, but what about narrative? What does transforming this game into such this large open world does for narrative? Because Sonic's not just going through a level and then having a chance to talk to Tails and Knuckles and Amy for like a cutscene before going on to the next mission. Like, so how does the narrative change or evolve for a game like this?
はい、今回、実はストーリーにも
So yeah, we did put a lot of focus on the story and the story presentation. In previous Sonic titles, it was kind of like Eggman does something bad. Oh my gosh, I can't believe this. We gotta go to stop Eggman because he's doing
Oh
this.
no!
It's very
I
like
can't
that.
believe this!
That's kind of the previous way that Sonic title storytelling kind of took place, and we're changing that format, and we're now putting Sonic on this mysterious island. Who's on this island? What are are these enemies? I don't know. What am I supposed to do here? How do I save my friend? Like, these are all the
Does
mysteries
I look like
and the
enemies
questions that we're presenting
and smell
to
like
people that
enemies?
we want them to go out and kind of explore and learn about and have this experience and figure out in the storytelling. Like, we have mysteries. We don't know what's going on. Sonic doesn't know what's going on either.
Jeez.
You have to go out and figure this out. And it's this different style of storytelling that is going to be new.
I would say even though with this like underlying mystery that's going on, like is it still funny? Like Sonic as a franchise is pretty usually comical in nature.
そうですね。まあ、今回
So yeah, if we were to talk about
Sorry.
the storytelling for Sonic Frontiers,
Sorry,
it's probably not so much comical and probably more mysterious. And I know we have had a lot of comical games in the past, but the mystery is really where they're going for Frontiers. That being said, we have employed Ian Flynn, who is a comic book writer, to write a lot of the dialogue for this game. And Ian Flynn, is great at that Sonic voice, and he's done a great job of writing dialogue that still feels very much like, a kind of a cynical or kind of snarky comment that Sonic would say. That's definitely in there. So even though the presentation is mysterious, it is still very true to like what a Sonic fan would enjoy and what Sonic fans like about Sonic.
And to continue on for the story, like how much of it is new? Like playing as Sonic, obviously, and we did see a
Everything's
cutscene
new,
that
dude.
had
Almost.
Eggman in it, and then there was a mention of Amy via one of the items. Is that it? Are there new characters for Sonic to meet and interact with? Do we get to see any of the OG cast making their return in this game?
まあちょっとストーリーに関してはまだ今あんまり
Son, can't say too much about the story. Again, it's mysterious. We don't
I
want to spoil
love
it for you guys.
Howler's
So
heart
we don't want to talk
on
too much
his
about
second
that, but
shirt.
we're on a mysterious island. There's
The
going to be
Legends of
mysterious
Zelda.
characters, mysterious
Zelda,
enemies,
Sega.
who they are, what are they doing there, what's the end goal, what's Sonic supposed to do about all of this. Those are the things that we want to present to people so they can really enjoy the story and start learning more about all these characters and enemies and what's going on.
While you're doing
There's
this and trying to figure out what's going on, there's these smaller mysteries, puzzles throughout the world that you have to solve. And Dave and I, putting our heads together, solved the ones in the beginning of the game pretty easily. But we were wondering like how complex do
What's
like
up with
these
the
puzzles
camera,
get? Like, are there
dude?
any like true like brain scratchers
I mean,
in there
I
that are
can't
gonna
say
take fans
anything.
like a while to like figure out?
My hands are way too
そうです
shaky to hold a
パズル
camera
は
right.
We really wanted to make sure there are other fun things to do while on the island. So yes, platform actioning is fun, but while you're on the island, there's also these puzzles to do. So for people who want to do that and choose to do that and have a fun time, that's a great way that they can earn rewards and kind of do things on the island that they are having a fun time with. So we do have puzzles on the island for players to engage with and have fun with. But we also don't want to force people to do anything. So if you don't want to do puzzles, you don't have to do puzzles. You can still find other ways of having fun on the island in that open zone and still progressing in the game and progressing the story.
To wrap things up, my coworkers would hate me if I didn't ask this question, but this is Sonic. Sonic's got to go fast. Has anyone in the office like tested to see like how long it takes for Sonic to like run from one side of the map like all the way to the other? Like, can you do it like really quickly?
それは開発中
This is actually a really great thing that they were testing in development. When they started making this game, everyone was running from start to finish. You know, how quickly can you clear the island from one side to the other? They were constantly testing it because Sonic is such a fast character. When we're building this open zone area, if you're going through it too quick, like that doesn't work for the open zone format. So they'd make the island, they'd run across it. They're like, this is no good, throw it out. We got to make it bigger. We got to make it bigger, even bigger. And they're constantly testing the size of the island and constantly questioning themselves because they have such a fast character and they need to make the open zone format a fun playground to play in. That was always what development was, iterating on and making sure, is the island too big? It's really not big enough is what they kept figuring out. And they had to keep expanding so they could make that open zone format.
Well, awesome. Thank you for taking the time to talk to me today and answer all of my questions. For all of you watching at home, keep it here at GameSpot. We got plenty more content for Summer Game Fest on the horizon. Talk to you later.
What was that guy in the background doing? He was like writing on his notepad too. When he jumps, it's the sound of a leash. Oh, I'm so excited. But what was that guy with the Legends of Sega shirt doing? He was like taking notes, but he wasn't really participating in anything. I have no idea. Also, who was translating for him? Was it that guy talking on the interview thingy? I don't know. So many questions. Guys, I can't math. We have 2 more videos to go. So grab your chili dogs, because we are into it.
Hey, I'm Dave Klein,
And I'm Jordan Ramey.
and we had a chance to check out Sonic Frontiers at Summer Game Fest 2022, and we're here to talk about it. So, Jordan, initial impressions, what did you think?
It's wild that Sonic is being put in an open Breath of the Wild.
His hair
type
must
world
be
is
really
kind of
comfy.
Like my initial impressions of it. It's one of those things that, like, in a follow-up interview, and
like a
talking
second
to the devs
pillow.
and whatnot, they're like, "Oh, this is gonna be like a
Laying on a
new
pillow
step
at
for
night.
Sonic," and I can see that. I can see that this could theoretically be like a transformative step for our favorite blue hedgehog, but I'm not entirely convinced that it works. That it works the way that they want it to work.
Yeah, I mean, it's also interesting with what you said with Breath of the Wild, because in that interview that Jordan did, they revealed that they started working on it in 2017.
Yeah.
Same release day as Breath of the Wild, so it seems like a pretty clear inspiration. Yeah, I feel like some things do work, because we both had a chance to play it, and some things don't. And the last Sonic game that I played, that was
Look
a
at the
newer one, was
grass.
Sonic Forces, and for me it has some of the same issues, which is the game feel of
The
it. I like what
place.
they're doing with the size of the levels. There's a lot of collecting in the game, which I like.
Levels?
The openness
I
is
thought
actually
it was open
refreshing with
world.
The fact that Sonic controls a little weird, so you're not going to fall off that much. But to me, it's just controlling Sonic just feels slightly off.
They
And anytime you
also
move a
said
direction, he just
talked
shoots
about
that
zones
direction.
earlier.
And you're just going to start flying in different directions. And that's where the open field kind of helps, but it still has that same issue where something about it just feels a little off to me.
Yeah, and we should clarify, both Dave and I played, there was 2 modes for this game, one where it's like, oh, Sonic controls a little bit more, it's like it's action mode, and then there's one that's like high speed mode where he goes apparently blazing fast. We both played on that mode.
That's a good point.
So
yeah.
it's possible that on the other mode, it's much easier to do the actual platforming and combat segments.
Yeah, but I mean, we only had 15 minutes each.
Yeah.
Actually, something that's worth mentioning that you brought up is that as we talked to the producer about the game with, there's kind of different segments within the game and like things that they focused on. And one was the open field. Another one was the combat that's completely different than anything we've seen in Sonic so far, which is that now he punches and kicks, and you have a full combat sequence where you
Sonic
can
Punch!
learn different moves. There's almost like a skill tree for Sonic to learn moves, and there's dodging now, and you're really getting in enemies' faces as opposed to just bashing them, which was an interesting direction to take Sonic in.
I was about to say, did you like the combat at all? Like,
I actually, you know what, I did like it. I think it didn't feel as refined, and again, that's sort of the game feel thing to me, where things feel just slightly off. There's mini bosses that you face in the game, and a lot of them that we were facing feel really built in for the mechanics. Like there is a giant one that both of us fought that has these legs that slams down, and then you run up the legs to jump in and then start attacking it. And
very
it feels,
Shadow of the Colossus.
Yeah, very, very Shadow of the Colossus. And I felt like they were really taking into account the mechanics of the game and the gameplay and the combat and how Sonic works for these enemies. So I appreciated that, but did you get a different takeaway?
I was gonna say, yeah, with those bosses, the ones that were the like larger than life, that they were almost like platforming challenges in and of themselves, like that sort of combat I did really enjoy, because I think that kind of fits with like the core idea and conceit of Sonic, where it's like he is a action platformer like protagonist.
Yeah.
We did face like a mini boss called the Ninja, that it was more like, oh no, this is kind of like just getting in its face and like dodging and then like punching it in the back, and I'm like, wow, this is that didn't really work for me as well. I was not enjoying that as much. So I do really like the ones that you were talking about, the ones where it's like, oh, I am platforming and fighting like at the same time. It gave me very Shadow of the Colossus, Hyper Light Drifter, like those sort of vibes. And I think that works for Sonic. So my hope is that we see more of those throughout the game. There was like that boss fight where it's like, oh, you had to like circle around and to like slowly knock down his head so that you could actually like attack it and finish him off. I'm like, that was really cool. I did enjoy that. But man, that ninja boss fight, that was...
No, honestly, the ninja boss fight, again, feels very Breath of the Wild inspired to me. Because that whole like dodge, you get a little slower.
What do you think everything
is what Breath of the Wild did? So it feels like, again, it pulled away from that. I also love that boss you're talking about. There's one where you use a special.
What do you think this whole game has influence from?
His name is just Tower, so I thought that was kind of funny. I'm like, oh, okay, Tower. That's the boss. All right, Tower.
Although I do wonder, and we should talk a little bit about like the story, or I guess lack of story, that we really saw with this idea that's like, oh, it's just ninja, it's just tower. Like we saw these items that it's like, oh, if you collect enough of these, you can save Amy. It's like, save Amy? Like what's happened to Amy? And then we had a cutscene where it's like, we saw Eggman, but he was in a totally different place. So it was just mostly Sonic not knowing what was going on, so we, the players, didn't know what was going on, and we're just kind of
Does he ever know what's going on?
The devs were like, oh,
I mean,
it's
really,
supposed to be a bit more of a
think about
mystery
it.
this time around. Like, it's not like this action
That
comedy.
looks like one of the Red
Eggman's
Rings.
Here, Shadows here, like, we need to stop him. Like,
colors.
there's a mystery here that you have to solve, and I am curious to see, like, is that the thing that sells Sonic Frontiers? The fact that there is a mystery at the core of this game that you have to try to solve. Something that we've never had before. I'm curious
No,
if
the
you guys
thing
feel
that's
about
gonna
it.
sell Frontier is its
Something else, too,
open
is that
world.
what we played was essentially like the plateau in Breath of the Wild, where it's this smaller segment, and then it
Everyone's
opens up
gonna
into
be
the open
curious
field thing.
about
How did
that.
you feel about the open field platforming itself? Because there's also a lot of puzzles sprinkled throughout it too. There's a lot to do in the open field.
It's fine. Like,
So enthusiastic.
well, I mean, it's one of those things where it's like we've had Breath of the Wild, we've had Immortals, Phoenix Rising, we've had the Horizon Forbidden West. We've had a bunch of open world games that have puzzles in them over the past year. I don't think Sonic does anything actually revolutionary with them in its open world, besides the fact that everything's a bit
further spaced out because Sonic runs so fast. He's basically already the mount that you would unlock for like Link and Aloy and stuff like that. So that is, I'm not gonna be like, oh yeah, the puzzles like this, that's gonna sell the game. I think it's just kind of your elementary like open world puzzles. I'm cautiously optimistic about it. I'm not like totally sold on it, but it is something that I'm like, when it comes out, I'll probably check it out.
Yeah, honestly, I think it's, for me, one of my favorite Sonic games I've seen in the past 10 years outside of maybe Generations.
That's honestly though, like not.
Oh,
so,
I know, but it's like, it's one where it looks like it's a step in the right direction. I'm
I
mainly
love
concerned about the game
Generations.
feel of it, but a lot of the things they're doing, I think, are steps in the right direction. So I'm really hopeful. And yeah, so that was Sonic Frontiers. Looking forward to it. Hopefully, it will be what all of us Sonic fans really hope for. So I'm hoping for that.
Yeah.
Until then, that's it for us with Sonic Frontiers and Summer Game Fest. Stay tuned for more Summer Game Fest, and we'll see you guys later.
Okay. Well, yeah. So what's gonna sell the game is that area looks cool. The area with the floating platforms, that looks cool. I'm very intrigued on that. This whole game's intriguing me so far. I am so intrigued. I can't not handle it. What? Oh, I thought it was coming to wait. That's not Switch, that's the Wii U gamepad. Holy crap. I'm intrigued, but I'm also hungry. I'm gonna try to get some to eat after this, but I'm excited. This is our last video, and I think it probably is going to be completely gameplay. So I'm pretty excited. Grab yourself some chili dogs. I should have grabbed a hot dog because I don't like chili. And right now I can eat chili anyway with gut problem. Anyway, let's get on to it. Oh, I like this one.
Sonic Frontiers is ambitious. That much has always been clear. The game's initial gameplay reveal may not have painted the fruits of that ambition in the most polished light. Technically, it was all a little bit rough around the edges, but even still, I've been excited and curious about the potential this new concept has to redefine what a modern 3D Sonic game could look like. I was very fortunate to have an opportunity to go hands-on with the game recently at a Summer Games Fest press event, and after spending almost an hour with it, I feel like I have a much more complete picture as to the potential this game has. Sonic Frontiers plays much, much better than it looks at the moment, and I fully expect that players will have a lot of fun exploring its intricate
I can't wait.
once the game is released. I spent about an hour dashing, jumping, and battling my way through the sprawling, lush environment that was previously highlighted in Sonic Frontiers gameplay trailers, and my main takeaway was that the game feels great to play at almost every level, even in this pre-release state. The zone I explored in my demo, the green, hilly ecosystem that has previously been highlighted in trailers, is an absolute joy to explore, being both vast and dense with compelling things to do. From tucked-away platforming challenges that can lead to hidden collectibles, to giant, intimidating bosses that freely roam the environment, there is a surprisingly large amount to see and do in this first area. Better yet, what I saw of the game's content had me feeling hopeful that
surprising? It's open world.
One that really rewards player curiosity more than any other previous entry. Sonic Frontiers has two different playstyles to choose from. Action style, which gives Sonic a bit of extra weight as he moves around, and high speed style, which is considerably faster.
So, packed on the chili dog style. Got it.
Much better when you are actually playing it. Action style is being billed as an experience recommended for more casual players, and high speed style is described in the game as recommended for people who are used to Sonic games. While the game definitely feels better to play at a faster speed in my opinion, it's just more exhilarating and challenging. Action style did a great job at helping me get accustomed to how Sonic moves in this new open environment, and it was a great introduction to the physicality of his combat style. Controlling Sonic felt really natural in Sonic Frontiers, and his movement style combined with many grind rails and boosts located around the environment allows for what felt like a lot of room for creative traversal of the world. In fact, what I played of Sonic Frontiers was all remarkably freeform. While you are following a story with an ultimately set through line, how quickly you get to the next part of the game and what you do along the way is almost entirely up to you. Your progress in Sonic Frontiers seems to be primarily gated by portals, which can only be activated after you complete a certain number of activities around the map. But what activities you decide to do, and the order in which you do them, seems most up to you. Want to go explore that massive tower in the distance? Hey, if you can find a way to the top, go for it. Want to focus on locating the small environmental puzzles that are scattered about, or participate in some timing-based challenges? Well, you can do that too. Want to go challenge one of the many large bosses that are stomping and sometimes flying around the environment? The game will not stop you. There is even fishing, apparently. Don't ask me how that works. Your guess is as good as mine at this point.
Fishing!
And sure, nothing is keeping you from racing through the game as fast as possible, but if you want to collect as many rings as you can, or just generally look cool while dashing around, you'll really want to take some time and explore alternate routes. Now, look, it is weird that there are grind rails just floating around the game world, tethered to nothing, and there were a few that I rode on that didn't really seem to go anywhere, but most of them did, and the ones that did often led to something interesting. And while I didn't receive any specific details, the Sega rep that I spoke to at the event said that there are multiple other biomes in the game beyond the green and hilly zone we've seen so far, although what those other regions will look like is anyone's guess. Don't expect combat to be the mindless breeze that it has the reputation for being in other 3D Sonic games either. Very few of the enemies you'll encounter are mindless foes. Most of them are either very aggressive, very resilient, or very large. Each encounter that I played through felt important, and each type of enemy I faced in this first area felt distinct. One of them, for example, was invulnerable unless I managed to use my Psy Loop ability to draw a trail around it, at which point it would be stunned long enough for me to get in a few attacks. Another one required me to use Sonic's homing feature to chip away at armor piece by piece, and my favorite encounter, a massive lumbering creature that vaguely reminded me of Horizon Zero Dawn's tall necks, required me to actually run up the side of the boss and then get above its shield to perform some mid-air attacks on its weak points.
That's
You
kinda,
can also
yeah.
parry attacks and perform ground stomps, so Sonic's repertoire of skills is already pretty comprehensive.
I forgot to check if I'm centered in my green screen.
Classic Sonic fashion, if you lose
Okay.
all your rings, which can happen in only a few hits if you're careless, Sonic will meet his demise. Fortunately, any damage you've dealt to a boss before you die seems to persist when you return to them, so the penalty for messing up isn't too harsh.
Yes!
It's all just challenging enough that I felt an engaging amount
I
of
hate it
effort
when
into
bosses
awareness
regain
as to
all
what
their
Sonic's
health.
doing. Also, it sounds like this version of Sonic will get upgraded over time if you choose to. Collect enough skill pieces around the environment, and these
I
will
love
become
how
skill
they
points.
changed in the new build how you can just
And
run
some
up
will make you
walls
move faster
instead
if
of
you want.
just
I don't know
grabbing
for
them.
sure what the full scope of the system is, but it seems
grabbing them
promising
again.
at this early stage, and I'm curious as to how vastly the Sonic Frontiers experience
Climbing.
may or may not change.
Running
depending
is
on
much
how
better.
I choose to upgrade my version of Sonic. One thing I didn't get to see too much of in this demo was the story, although from what I did see, don't expect some big emotional magnum opus. While Sonic doesn't really seem to talk too much during gameplay, the few cutscenes I saw contain the same old charming goofiness that all Sonic players are deeply familiar with at this point. It's a little incongruous with the pensive piano notes that soundtracked my exploration, but the focus of Frontiers seems very much to be on the gameplay, which I'm really relieved about personally. The big unknown for me, really, is if Sonic Team will get this game to a technical state that's solid enough for a release later this year.
It doesn't look like there's a HUD.
Build, so it's not necessarily a metric of how the final game will turn out. And what I
love
experienced was
that.
technically solid overall. There's just a lot of rough edges at the moment, from pretty egregious pop-in and some bland textures and lighting to a subpar resolution, and I wasn't even playing the Switch version. Still, there's plenty of time between now and the end of the
Excuse me. There is a Switch version of this game going to be? Huh? What? This game has as much right to be on the Switch as Forbidden West. I mean, come on. If you play this on the Switch, your Switch might explode. So be careful.
year. So there's no reason the game needs to launch in a rough shape, and mechanically everything is fun to play as it is, I thought. And that's truly a statement that I am very pleased to say out loud. I left my demo of Sonic Frontiers overall very impressed with what I played, and I'm very much looking forward to playing more. I get the sense that the surface has only been barely scratched as to the scope of this game. Sonic Frontiers is currently scheduled to launch at some point this year on Nintendo Switch and other platforms. For all the latest and greatest news as to what is new and exciting in the world of Nintendo, keep it tuned in to NintendoEverything.com.
Wait, I probably saw what's coming on the Switch. Okay, so it's coming on the Switch. The Switch doesn't have enough power to run a game like this, I wouldn't think. I've seen The Witcher 3 played on the Switch. It looks kind of like Minecraft. Of course, I don't know if the OLED has more power or not. I know it has bigger screen and higher definition than the regular Switch. I don't think this is a game that belongs on the Switch, but let's see. I'm not gonna get it for the Switch. You might, which, I mean, that's totally fine, but I'd rather get the game on like Steam or PS5 or Xbox. It's coming to Xbox. Of course, I'd rather get it on the PS5. Of course, if maybe, I don't know how the PC PlayStation thing works yet. I don't know. So if I can't record it, I might get it on Steam so I can play it on the channel. I don't know. This game looks really good so far. I think there's probably gonna be more news later on in the future, considering they said that June was the month of Sonic Frontiers news, so we'll probably see more. Anyway, guys, if you enjoyed the video, if you enjoyed the reaction, please give this video a like. Comment below on what you think of the game. If you're apprehensive about it, which I'm pretty sure all of us are. 06. It looks really good. Of course, we didn't get a lot of, we got nowhere near the amount of stuff for 06 as we got for this. For 06, I think all we got was a trailer. I cannot remember, but this gives me a little more hope for 06. So yeah, make sure to leave a like, subscribe to the channel if you enjoy content like this, reactions, let's plays, people who die a lot. I'm your girl. Also follow me on Twitter, it's down below and at the end of the video. Every so often I'll put polls on there, see what games you all want to see on the channel, and just channel related stuff. So thanks again for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. Sonic Speed.